and welcome back to my channel. And I know it's been a good couple of weeks since I last posted. I've been off ill. The husband brought some work germs back from his workplace back into the house, and of course, as ever with my wonderfully not quite working immune system, that usually means catching the instant cold and blowing it all out of proportion. So we're back on track, but not quite there. So I thought I'd do something a little different today and introduce you guys to another program which I use apart from ArtRage and Coral Painter. This one is called Sketchbook by a company called Autodesk. Now Sketchbook and Autodesk, which is famous kind of for like the CAD style programs, has been around for a long time. And Sketchbook, originally when I first got it, I actually paid, I think I paid about £13, £12.99 for it for the Pro version, and now you can actually get it completely and utterly for free. You can download it off their website. I'll put a link in the description box below. And also their app, which is available on Android and iPad on Apple, is also free. So you can delve straight into this app without any problems at all. It has a host of absolutely amazing brushes. They're just so much fun to play with, the brushes in here. I do a lot of children's illustration book work, and I use this program specifically for my illustration work because it has the guides and perspective guides that I need sometimes when creating generally kind of the atmosphere backgrounds and environment backgrounds for the children's books. So I tend to use this program. It has all these brushes, and I'm just going to show you down the side here is my main toolbar. These are basically the standard brushes that I've set up that I tend to use. So obviously I've got the good old trusty 4B pencil. Next to that we've got the synthetic brush, which is like acrylic painting, which I do a lot of my line art with. And then we have, yes, pastels, obviously, several different types of pastels. We've got markers, we've got a blender, which is a soft blender, we've got an eraser, and then for some of my watercolour work we also have here splats, because there's nothing, you can't do a watercolour piece without adding the odd occasional drip and splatter, and obviously you can't do that physically, or yet they haven't invented a way of doing that physically yet, so hopefully, maybe in the future, you know, we've asked Coral for it, we've asked ArtRage for it, we've even asked Procreate for it, and we're still waiting. So maybe one day we'll get the be able to flick your brush and create splatters effect, but not anytime soon. Then underneath that we've got some watercolour brushes, and then we've got some more synthetic brushes, another soft blender, and an airbrush as well. So those are actually, they're all my kind of standard palettes. Now at the top of here you've got two little icons. The first one is two sliders going in opposite directions. This is actually your brush settings. So if I click on this and open this up, you can see it shows you your line basically. If I slide the size up and down, you can see what that's doing there. It's a little bit tricky getting back to what you were. No. Okay, we'll just type that in there. That will just make it easier. I want this size 4. And obviously you've got opacity. You have got advanced settings. You could actually go to town in Sketchbook and make your own brushes. Sketchbook have an online library on their website with, I'd probably say about 200, 300 different brushes. Everything from anime art style brushes to watercolour brushes, oil brushes, environment brushes, pattern brushes, so brushes that take the shape of certain patterns. So you want quick effects like when you're working in environments, things like grass, trees, leaves, branches. Chain links is another really good one if you do a lot of fan art for things like World of Warcraft and things like that. Chain links is quite a good one. But you can create your own brushes in here. It's just as easy as doing it in Art Rage. In some respects it's slightly easier than Art Rage. But you do get 200 brushes to play with straight from the start, so you're well set to have a really good go at this app and this program and really get stuck in. So I'm going to close brush properties and open the brush library and show you what it is I'm talking about. And yes, you can see my cursor is flickering as it tries to load the library because there's that many. I don't even have them all. In fact, I believe, where are we? Sketchbook Extras is where you want to go from the window menu at the top, and you'll access it there. I won't do it now because we're going to have a little bit of fun today. Something calming and relaxing that, to be honest with you, you could play with for hours. I totally get lost and engrossed in this. So there's my basic, where it says basic. I can rename that. You can see that it comes up with the text cursor when I hover over it. These are always the ones that are always on the side taskbar no matter what. You can actually select one, and as you can see, I'm just dragging it around. You can add it to that, and it will add it to the sidebar, and it will add it automatically to basic. There's no limit to how many. Bear in mind that obviously you need to drag your sidebar down in order to accommodate more, or you can actually create new groups and have set groups for different things. So I've got some for, well, you can see here I've got my Copics, I've got synthetics, I've got texture essentials, which are a lot of ones that I tend to use for the illustration work. If I select that, you can see up at the top it says speckled. Am I on a useless colour? Probably. Let's have a look. Oh, there you go. As you can see, speckled texture effect. Lovely. And if I scroll down, we've got the traditionals. So there's your one? Is there a 1B? I think there is a 1B. I'm not actually sure why there's a 1. But they are basically 2B, 4B, 6B, etc. going up. And then more textures, shapes. I've moved all the splatters out because they're currently in my basics, so that's why the splatter group is currently empty. Glow effects, various smudge brushes, then there's designer, artistic, pastel, colourless. Jason Free Fantasy Art Set is absolutely brilliant. You've got everything from clouds to leaves to waves. You can download that free from the Sketchbook website. Water. Toothpaste is absolutely hilarious. I haven't actually managed to find an application to use it in yet. I've not really experimented with. Please, if you feel like making a painting out of toothpaste, please put it up on Facebook, on Steve's site. I'd love to see it. I've not yet, so don't challenge me. Clouds, more of Jason's art brushes. Then we've got our manga series, our textured watercolour, which is really nice because obviously, unlike Art Rage, you don't get textured paper. I'll be straight with you. You don't get textured paper. You can add a textured paper, but obviously it doesn't work in the same way that you get texture effects in Art Rage when you're moving your medium over the top of it. So you tend to have brushes that simulate texture when they paint. Something completely different. There's advantages to that, is that you've got a lot more control. Sketchbook's very good for the rotation and tilt on a pen, and the texture, obviously it shifts and randomizes as you move, so you do get a proper texture effect while using them. Obviously there are also disadvantages. You cannot control how much texture, you cannot control the depth of that texture. It's just not as good. It just doesn't look as convincing. But it doesn't mean that they're not great. These are lovely watercolour brushes, and the texture actually does really go well with them. For brushes, if you are into doing a lot of pet portraits, these are really lovely. Grunge textures, the inker, which basically is various ink brushes, and my favourite in that one is Leaky Pen, which I highly recommend having a go with. Hudson Rio Design is another design set, basic acrylics, more splats, storybook telling, which I've used a few times for some illustration work, skin textures, the glitch brush set, snow brushes, which are really lovely, weather elementals, which I don't really have a use for, but I downloaded them anyway, creamy pastels, they're one of my favourites, that's why they're down the bottom. Jason's tutorial brushes, he has tutorials on his website. He's a featured artist on the Autodesk site, so you can click and go to his site and you can see some of the tutorials he's come up with. Some of those tutorials are also on the Autodesk book. Definitely have a go and watch those, he's absolutely brilliant. Charcoal, JPH, more brushes, more water, fantasy art, coloured pencils. I don't know why. I'm not even sure why I downloaded those. I just don't do coloured pencils. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for them, but not in my house. More of Jason's art brushes, more clouds, Inktober brushes, which are great for the Inktober projects. More fantasy, more water. Oils and a sponge, always great fun. Snowflake stamps, really lovely. Manga stamps and sumi. Sumi is lovely. If you don't know what sumi, it's basically Japanese watercolor, and they tend to do use it with only black ink. So if you've seen those paintings of the cherry trees, which are just the black lines, thick and thin and just very loose brush style. They use very big mop-headed brushes to do it. They paint huge pieces on massive scrolls of paper, and they add a lot of their characters from the alphabet and words and slogans and themes in. It's actually pretty amazing watching them, very therapeutic, but we have a lovely brush set involved in Autodesk with it, and they give that for free, and it's really good fun to play with. However, that is not what we're doing tonight. Tonight, and if you're wondering, it is currently, well, it's just hit 9 o'clock. Husband's on a late, so I'm on my own. Cats are all asleep. At least they seem to be all asleep. I don't trust them when they're very quiet. So we're going to have a bit of fun. Like I said, I've been ill for a bit, so I haven't really done much art in the last couple of days, and I'm still getting back on my feet, so I haven't really been able to kind of, well, get in the groove. And sometimes I find that to get myself back into the swing of it, and just rather than just charging in like a bull, because you do need some structure in your work, I actually found doing kind of mandala style doodles absolutely amazingly fun. They're just so relaxing to do, and after I finish them I then spend ages with some watercolor brush pens just colouring them in. I do them on here and I print them off, or I use a black pigment brush marker. I don't know if I've got it sitting on my desk, because I have loads of these and they're just all floating around at the moment. Oh, I do. Here's one. Yeah, it's the Unipin fine liner. It's a brush fine liner, and I'll just doodle mandalas with that straight onto watercolour paper. My watercolour brush pens are the Arteza, whichever one you want to say, set. Great for colouring with that. So, how do we do it digitally with this program? You can sit there forever and carefully try to draw it out, and you can sit here and do this, and yeah, it's not very straight, it's not very great, it's a bit wobbly. If your hand shakes as much as mine do sometimes, yeah, it doesn't look very good. So, Sketchbook, because it does a lot of, it's great for a lot of illustration and design work, a lot of like House builders and automotive experts tend to use this program for building painted style graphics for projects. There is all these wonderful guides up here on the toolbox, and they are really, really useful. So up here today we're going to specifically play with the symmetry tool. So if we click on the symmetry tool, we get one long line. That's great. If you're wondering what the noise is, it's my husband texting me. He's probably bored. Yes, he is. That's not a surprise. He loves his job, really. And we get a single dividing line. We have this dot in the centre. We can grab that and we can drag this around and do whatever we want with it. Move it up, move it down. Up here, you see we've got the single split, which is the Y. Next to that is an X split, so if I click that, I can get an X side as well. If you hit the button again, it turns it off. Fairly self-explanatory, but this is not what we're playing with today. We are going to play with the radial. And this is where it's going to get fun. Next to the radial is a number and a slider bar. This basically tells you how many sectors in your radial divider it's going to be. So if I select radial, and we're currently at 6, so you can see it split my square piece of paper into 6 portions. Whatever I draw in one gets repeated in the other. So it's like a mirror image of a mirror image of a mirror image. You get what I mean. So we've got 6, and if you up the slider, 5, so you can go uneven if you want to get a bit creative. 6, and you can basically go all the way up to 16. It gets a little complicated at 16. I wouldn't use the high numbers, so have many segments until you kind of get further out on the page. I always suggest that you start with something smaller, so 4 or 6, to start your mandala off, and then build up your number of segments as you work out to the edge of the page. This just helps focus the mind as well. I usually stick some music on. I'm gonna go through just a basic one and show you what I'm doing, and then I'll switch to not talking to you and leave you with some beautiful music, and you can just sit and watch the fun and the magic happen, or you can subscribe, like, and go play with your own. The program's free. It takes all of 2 minutes to download. It's a smallish program. It's great fun. Go, just relax, enjoy your art, enjoy doodling, just enjoy yourself, because that's what this is about. So we've got this really horrible colour selected. I'm not actually sure why. Let's pick a colour. In fact, let's pick a background colour first. I'm going to go funky. We're going to have black today. Oh yes, we're going to stick to some bright colours then. So let's go for a kind of turquoise. And we'll take it up to the brightest level. One thing I'm also going to do on this is I'm going to use the line smoother. It's just going to give me a bit more fluidity with the line. And that's this icon up here. You can see straight away this number here basically sets how much of a tail. So if I drag, you can see the white line that follows. The length of that white line gets longer depending on how up or down the slider you get. So the higher the number, the longer the line. And that tail basically allows you more smooth movement. But we won't do that for now. Right. I don't want it that high, so we'll just put it at 6. And let's get started. So I'm going to start in this segment here, and I'm just going to go up and round. Yeah, you can sit here and watch this all day. It is pretty cool. And we're going to go up and round again and just lower down. And again. Oh, don't grab that. That's the centre point. You don't want to be playing with that. tempting as it is, it will keep snapping, so you just got to be careful about where you pick that up. Right. Now, one thing you've also got to know is you can go between segments. You don't have to stick to the same segment. You can move from one into another and it will create a continuous, almost seamless pattern. So for example, I can go from up here into here. And you can see where we get the issue with these. So you have to be very careful about how you do that. I don't often do that just because it starts becoming a headache, because you need to work out if you do a circle there, obviously with the angle it only comes halfway on the other side, but directly below it goes a full, and then right at the bottom it creates an actual elongated version of it. So it distorts as it goes around. You have to be very careful with it. You can work it out, but as we're only doing this for fun and for a mind exercise, just to relax the mind, open to creativity, and just kind of getting in the groove. So we're going to continue on this, and we are going to, let's create a zigzag. And we have a zigzag. Should we do a smooth line as well? Ooh, there we go. Another one of these. And again. And we'll just keep going. Let's do another line, and another line, and let's do zigzag. And we'll also, what should we do? Line, line, zigzag. Right, now let's change to a different colour. Let's go with an opposing colour. So opposite on the spectrum from turquoise is orange. That's not totally opposite, but it's opposite enough. What should we do? What should we do? Should we do some dots? And should we do some dots on this one as well? In fact, actually, I'm going to turn line smoothing off so I can do the dots, because it's easy doing this freehand. So, see what happens when I put this, speed up this on a video. Almost hypnotizing, watching the pattern just almost create itself as you work. It's pretty amazing. Let's do bigger dots up here. And the same on this section. The reason for this is just because of the size and the shape of the sections. Note that because we've split into 6 on a square, that the middle two sections here and here are equal, so it forms a perfect triangle, whereas the outer two sections, this two and these two, have got square corners, so therefore it doesn't match up symmetry wise. So you tend to find that the opposite corners work together. So you have to just remember to do that when you're working on something like this. So we're going to change colour again. Let's go to a pinky red. Ooh, what should we do? Let's do some more ziggies. teardrop. That wasn't a very good teardrop. I apologise. And there's another one. Just check that that's alright. Yeah, looking good. Right. Now what I'm going to do is bring this back. I'm going to increase the number to 12. Okay. I'm going to pick a bright yellow. Something like a nice lemon yellow. And now, because we split into 12, we're going to get a lot more definition and a lot more repeats. So we're going to go but by doing so we've shifted the pattern, so we start getting this really fun overlay where it starts to mingle. This is where you start to have loads and loads of fun, because the more you do this, the more intricate your pattern will become. So we'll do dots along there as well. There we go, it's starting to take shape. Right, I am going to continue with this, and I'm going to love you and leave you. Just a quick reminder, remember to like the video, give it the good thumbs up, and also subscribe to keep track of up and coming videos. And yeah, 15 minutes so far, and it's Doodle Central. So, have a go at this, download the app, it's completely free, either on your iPad or your tablet or your computer or your Mac. Have a go, just sit back with a cup of tea, grab your stylus and just go for it. And have fun, because that's what this is all about today, is just a little bit of calm and relaxing fun. And a few giggles along the way every time I make a few mistakes. But anyway, good night guys, enjoy the rest of this video, and I'll see you next week.